On the 29th of December, 1170, on the spot just behind me, Thomas a Becket, St. Thomas of Canterbury, was killed during Vespers in his own cathedral by 4 knights, drunk, possibly sent by the king, thinking they were sent by the king, and died protecting his own monks and with the words of Christ on his lips. I've been very lucky to have been in 2 extraordinary places as a bishop. Very briefly in Durham, where the cathedral has the shrine of St. Cuthbert. Cuthbert was someone you could fall in love with at once. He was humble, he was devoted to the poor, he spent his time traveling around, telling people about Jesus Christ with immense risk to himself. He was a remarkable man. And his humility was shown in uniting the church when there was the conflict between the Roman traditions and the Celtic traditions. And then down to Canterbury, and here we find someone very, very different, half a millennium later, more or less, but someone who still had a humility, but came from a totally different background, Thomas. Thomas, of course, loved comfort and wealth and ostentatious display when he was Lord Chancellor. And so Henry II thought it was a pretty safe bet to make him Archbishop of Canterbury. He got his mate there, he'd be Lord Chancellor, everything would work well, you'd bring together church and state. And of course, Thomas took Christ seriously. Now, there's all kinds of things we can say. It's different era, different times. They did things differently. But there is no doubt that, like Cuthbert, Thomas was devoted to his service to Jesus Christ. That, like Cuthbert, Thomas was devoted to the service of the poor and loving of the people. He was a person of prayer, and he was brave. And you see those 2 things. I often reflect on them when I'm standing here or coming in and out of the cathedral past Thomas's shrine, and think how different they were, and yet they're brought together by Christ. Thomas, to me, is a symbol of the need for the church to be brave, to proclaim Christ, not to seek power, which he did for the church, there I would differ with him, but to seek that Christ is known and to resist the power of great and powerful and bad-tempered kings in his day, certain other things today, not political perhaps, but cultural. How do we stand today courageously for what is right, not just for what is convenient? Thomas's death shook Europe in a way that is unimaginable. It shattered all kinds of preconceptions. It was the key point in Henry II's reign in his history. And yet, Thomas emerged from it, not just as a saint and martyr, but as someone who stood for faithfulness to Christ. When I kneel at this altar, that is what I remember. Saint Thomas!